Well, if we're gonna find any ghosts, we better split up.
You're listening to Never Split Up, a horror movie podcast.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Never Split Up podcast. My name's Nolan along with Anthony. We have another fun episode for you today. We are covering Crimson Peak, released in 2015. What's going on, Ant? How's it going?
How's it going? Happy first episode of the new year.
Yes, first episode of 2025. I hope everyone had a great holiday season, but now we're back into the swing of thing. We took like a week off, I think, for New Year's. But now we're back. We're going back to our weekly schedule, so that's going to be fun. We're starting off with a cool like wintry vibe movie. We had a poll that we released on our social media, and we got a pretty good turnout for that. I think, Ant, you recently discovered that you can run polls now on YouTube, so that helps a lot. Speaking of YouTube, thank you everyone who's new to YouTube, our new subscribers. We've got a bunch. We hit our goal of 200, and now we just keep climbing, so that's amazing to see. But yeah, you guys voted for Crimson Peak, and this is going to be a first watch for me, not a first watch for you, Anthony, but I'm excited to talk about this. Before we get into that, I know you wanted to do a couple quick shout-outs and stuff, so why don't you do that?
Yeah, so like Nolan said, we really appreciate you guys helping us get to our YouTube goal, really trying to make it happen over there. And I was really pushing for our episode, our year-end 2024 favorite horror movie episode, to get 1,000 views on YouTube, and we also exceeded that goal. We're over 1,200 views in addition to our audio plays on our podcast platform. So thank you guys so much. Welcome to the new subscribers. Keep checking out that episode for some horror movie recommendations for 2024. Share it. Tell your horror friends and family to check out that episode of the podcast and subscribe if you can. And yeah, I think that a big reason why Crimson Peak won, not only because it's a winter-themed movie, is because people are hot off the heels of another gothic horror movie, Nosferatu. So I kind of think it's a good 1-2 punch, and people are like, oh, I want to check out another gothic horror romance. So I think that helped Crimson Peak a little bit. I got that vibe.
Yeah, no, for sure. We got a decent amount of votes for the other movies as well, but we'll eventually get to those. Maybe we'll cover one of those before the winter season is up. So again, thank you to everyone who voted, and thank you everyone for the subscribers and everything. Please keep leaving your comments and keep doing your reviews on the podcast side of things. It's much appreciated. But before we get into this review, I know you wanted to talk about, since it is our first episode of the new year, you wanted to just quickly talk about our most anticipated 2025 releases for horror. I know you have quite a bit, and I wrote down a few. So I guess we'll get that out of the way first, correct?
Yeah, it's always good to start the year fresh of what horrors to come and what to look forward to. So yeah, I have a few. Want me to get going on a couple of them?
Yeah, sure. Let's dive in. Yeah. What do you got?
All right. I'm just gonna start with the one that's coming out the soonest, and I'm really curious about Lee Whannell's The Wolfman. It actually comes out January 17th, so when the week this is going to be released, this episode. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm a big fan of Lee Whannell. I actually think my favorite directed movie of his is Upgrade, but he did great with Insidious Chapter 3 and The Invisible Man, which is going to be related to this one, another monster movie he did. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It looks like it can go either way, but I'm excited to see what he's got.
Yeah, it could go either way. It looks a little, I did watch the trailer and stuff. It does look a little, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but little like kind of mainstream popcorn horror, which is fine. I'm not a big Wolfman guy, so it looks cool. It's not on my list personally, but I will probably check it out. I don't know if I'll see it in theaters. That might be one I skip and I just wait for it to come to streaming, but yeah, it looks, like you said, it could go either way. It looks interesting, but I do like Lee Whannell, so I do think he's going to bring something to that story, and even if it is like kind of a popcorn horror, which is fine that it is, it's not high up on my list for anticipated. Okay, I guess the first one that is going to be released that I'm looking forward to, that I've seen, I haven't really paid close attention to this entire release schedule, but is Hard Eyes. Hard Eyes coming on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
That's going to
It's on
be
my
a
list,
fun, looks like a fun slasher, and that's going to be really cool. So,
Yeah, that's I mean, it's a holiday themed horror slasher whodunit. I mean, that's what I love. So sign me up. That's also on my list.
we're
I
big
can't wait.
fans
And we need more.
of My Bloody Valentine over here.
Yeah, we need
Split
more
podcast,
Valentine's
so.
Day horror. So I'm excited for that one, and it looks like it has some fun kills, from some of the advertising. So it's rated R, it's bloody, and it's a slasher whodunit. That's what makes me happy in life. So that's also on my list. Definitely, guys, check that out. We'll probably cover the remake for Valentine's Day, but we'll give a shout out to this movie. We'll probably both go see it for sure. My next one is The Monkey, some more Osgood Perkins horror. Obviously, he had a huge hit with Long Legs in 2024. That was a dark but very humorous horror movie. And I believe The Monkey is going full on like campy horror. So I'm excited to see what he does with that. The premise is cool, and I just think that it looks fun. And I want Osgood Perkins to get freaky and fun. It's a Stephen King adaptation, and James Wan's producing it. But it's still like rated R horror, so I'm excited to see what he does with it. It comes out in February, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, cool. Okay, I know nothing about it, so I don't know any. I didn't know it was
That's
gonna be
exciting,
campy.
though,
I didn't
yeah.
know the premise. I'm not familiar with the Stephen King novel,
It's got
so
Elijah Wood in it. I mean, come on.
yeah. So
Elijah
I don't
Wood
know
is
anything.
cool,
So
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
why
that's
it's
good.
not on my list. But I mean, Osgood
Okay.
Perkins, he's one of the most creative directors out there. So
And
we'll see.
shout out to Black Coat's Daughter. A lot of people were like bummed and like giving that shout out and say it was underrated. And they commented on our poll because we did that movie was included in that poll. So we will get to it, I promise. But a lot of people were saying how underrated that movie was, and I completely agree. So yeah, Osgood Perkins, man.
Yeah, next one, another fun one. Listeners of the podcast know I'm an apologist of the first movie. It's Megan 2.0. I love Megan, love me some Megan. That just hit every note for me. The first one, I thought it was brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel. I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun with the first one. I didn't love it, but I am looking forward to see what they do with the sequel, and I hope I'm pulled in more. But it's Megan. It's going to be fun. So yeah, that's going to be an exciting one. My next one is going to be the new Christopher Landon horror movie. He wrote Hard Eyes, but I'm looking forward to his new movie he's directing. It's Drop, and it seems like it's a little bit more not as campy and humorous like Happy Death Day or Freaky. It's going a little bit more straightforward horror. I think the premise is cool. It's this about this widowed mother who goes on her first date in a few years, and she meets this guy, but then she starts getting like a series of anonymous drops on her phone. The movie's called Drop, and it's like says she has to do certain tasks or her like family's gonna be killed, and like one of her tasks is like to kill the guy she's on a date with. So it sounds like a cool premise and something different for Christopher Landon. It sounds a little more like straightforward horror, so I'm looking forward to that. I like him as a director.
Yeah, sounds very like Black Mirror-esque. That should be
Yeah,
interesting.
I like
yeah,
it.
I like him as a director too. My next one is going to be another huge release in the same vein as the one you were talking about, the Wolfman. It's going to be Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
Guillermo del Toro. We're covering him today. He directed Crimson Peak. He's directing this. It's got Mia Goth. I forget who's Frankenstein's monster. It's a pretty big name, right? It was.
I can't remember because
I forget, but yeah, that's gonna be hopefully a great adaptation of Frankenstein's story. So that's gonna be cool. I don't know. I forget when that release date is. I'm assuming towards the end of the year.
I don't think it's official yet. Like officially, like has released it. But I know it's like fall, like 2025 or something. It's
okay.
a Netflix release, so they usually like date it.
Oh,
later.
is it Netflix release? I wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Cool. So
I
I'll be
mean,
able to watch it.
Frankenstein. Yeah, you have to
I
make
have
a
to
commitment
go
to
to
go
the
out.
theater. Yeah, it's so hard for me
Frankenstein
now to
and,
go to the theater. It sucks.
Even for me, I don't have time. But Guillermo del Toro and Frankenstein just sounds like it works. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
obviously
I mean,
looking
that's
forward
like-
to that.
I think he came out of the womb, like, knowing that story, probably. I mean, that's like match made in heaven, so we'll see. Yeah.
That'll be good. I think the cat, he always good with the cast. I'm looking forward to that. I don't really know much about it. I just know he's directing it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, neither
for
do
that.
I. I don't really know. I don't think they've really released any like footage or anything.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, I'll get one more though before I get into the big franchise fair. It's called Vicious, and it's the director of The Strangers, is doing this one, and I love him because he's very dark and mean. What was the other? The Strangers, and he did this movie, The Dark and the Wicked. It was a Shudder movie, but that movie is messed up and very mean. So I'm hoping he keeps that streak going because, I have a little soft spot for depressing horror. And it stars Dakota Fanning, so it's always good to see her pop up, and I'm happy that she's coming back to the horror genre. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to his work. I like him. He's mean and he's unapologetic. So I hope this is it's called Vicious, so I hope it gives us some viciousness in that movie. It doesn't have a release date yet, but I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just have a couple more. Another sequel I'm looking forward to is The Black Phone 2. I'm really interested. It's more of a curiosity. I'm really interested to see like kind of how they tackle that.
Yeah,
People who watched the first one, we covered this movie.
we did.
So people who watched are familiar with the first one are maybe scratching their heads like how they're doing a sequel.
Yeah,
But
I am a little.
it's
bit.
gonna be interesting, and I hope they listen to our podcast and they kind of
Yes.
resolve some of the things that we had an issue with,
agree.
because we kind of both agreed what the deficiencies were, but we both agreed that was a really cool concept, and it was a pretty fun movie. So that's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see how they pull that off. So
I agree. I'm kind of just like curious, like what are you guys doing with that one? But I have faith in Scott Derrickson. I think we both gave the first one around a 7, so go check that episode out. But it'd be cool if like this brought up to like 8 territory. For
Yeah.
us to see if they can do something with it.
yeah,
So I'm curious. All right, my rest are like franchise movies, so I'm really looking forward to 28 Years Later. I'm a big 28 Days Later guy, and I'm also like I'm unapologetic that I think that while the first one, 28 Days Later, is more like aesthetically the better movie, I think entertainment wise, like 28 Weeks Later is a fucking banger, and it's just a bloody, gory like horror fest, and that opening sequence in the sequel is just all time.
do people not like the sequel? Is that like a
They do, but
consensus?
like the snobby people are like it's not art like the first one. It's more just like your
No, I
popcorn.
like it
But
too.
I love
I
them
think it's
both.
fun.
Yeah, I love them both. So I think that's 2 for 2, and I think the trailer. I did watch the trailer for the sequel, and it gave me chills. So I'm like, hell yeah, let's go with this. So I'm really looking forward to the 28 Years Later. It's actually the start of a new trilogy. They already filmed the one that's going to come out in 2026. So
Yeah.
they have faith in it. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that's gonna be big. It's gonna make a lot of money. I think people are like going crazy for it. So in the trailer and everything. But yeah, another one for me, another franchise that I adore is Predator franchise. They're coming out with Predator Badlands. I've seen some stuff about the script and stuff and kind of what the premise is. I think the Predator is going to be the main character. I think that's still the thing. I don't think that's been debunked. I think that's like the concept. So I think it's like post-apocalyptic too. So that sounds right up my alley. And I love the Predator franchise, good and the bad. But I'm hoping that because it's the same people who worked on Prey. I believe Trachtenberg is the director. I believe that's his name. So I have high hopes for Badlands. And I believe there's a second one that's untitled that's also coming out possibly this year as well, probably in 2026, but yeah, they like filmed like a secret one as well. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know if it's going to be tied to Badlands or if it's a different universe, like time period, but yeah, I'm excited for those to come out. That's going to be cool.
Yeah, that franchise came back with a vengeance for sure. So I'm excited to see where that one goes. I just have a couple more. My next one is a big franchise. It's probably one of the most mainstream franchises. It's The Conjuring: The Last Rites. Specifically because this is, it's called Last Rites. It's supposedly the last one with Ed and Lorraine Warren, and I love Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson together. The Conjuring franchise, it's not hit or miss for me. They're all like fun to me, but specifically The Conjuring 2, and Annabelle Creation to me are like really, really awesome, like all-timer horror movies. So I'm hoping that this last one really does something special and it like can go up to the lineup with those 3 movies. The other ones are all fun Friday night popcorn horror movies, but I'm hoping that this one goes there and something special to, round out their franchise specifically for those 2 characters. So I'm looking forward to it.
I hope so, man, because unlike you, I think I'm a little more pessimistic towards the Conjuring movies. The universe itself I love, but the Conjuring sequels I'm not huge fans of. I thought the second one was just okay compared to the first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was very long. I didn't love the pacing of it. It was good. It was good, but the third one I really didn't like at all. The Devil Made Me Do It. That was a rough watch. So I really hope that they give him like a proper send off, and it's a good final, Conjuring film. So I hope so too. I just have one more, and again, this is related to an episode we just did. The new Silent Night, Deadly Night is coming out next Christmas. List. So I'm hopeful that that's going to be pretty good. They're going to keep it. Hopefully, they'll go unrated with the success of Terrifier 3, like we said, kind of in honor of the original that had to be censored. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful, but yeah, that's gonna either way, it's gonna be a bloody good time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like you said, we briefly talked about this when we covered Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original. Go check out that episode, guys. I'm super looking forward to this one because it's the same distributor of the Terrifier movies, and because they're not afraid to put out a no-holds-barred slasher movie, and also specifically because Mike P. Nelson, who worked on The New Wrong Turn, which I was absolutely, like, against, but I was so obsessed with when I sat down to watch it. I thought it was a great, great, great... I can't wait to cover that franchise, but that remake did something totally different for that franchise, and I was a huge fan. I think he also did a segment in like VHS, one of the VHS movies. But I'm really looking forward to it because I like him as a director and a writer, and compared mixed with the distributor, it can be another Christmas horror movie that, you know.
Oh yeah.
We got Terrifier 3 and then we get this one to look forward to. So I'm really excited. And then I just have two more, which are my like biggie, like the biggest of the year. It's the new Final Destination Bloodlines. Final Destination is one of my favorite horror franchises of all time, so I'm so pumped for that franchise to come back. It's the first sequel since 2011, so we're going on like 14 years with no Final Destination, so this is going to be a big, big deal for me. I believe it kicks off the summer in May, so I cannot wait to go see that in like an IMAX or Dolby, because those set pieces for those movies, they have to be experienced in a theater. So I'm a big Final Destination guy, so I'm so amped for that one.
Okay, cool. I thought for sure I Know What You Did Last Summer was going to make that list.
That's my number one.
I thought you were done. Okay, I was going to say, wait, what's going on? Is that got delayed or something? What's happening?
No, hell no, better not. Return of my girl, Julie James. Check out her Final Girl episode. She's back officially. So you know how I love my 90s Final Girls. So yeah, I'm a 90s guy, so that's easily my number one most anticipated of the year.
Worried there.
I hope her and Freddie Prinze Jr., I know they're not the leads, but I hope they are like important to the story. They're not just like 5-minute cameos, which I read that she like, it took her so long to agree to the movie because she didn't want to be a cameo. So I'm looking forward to it. I love those two movies, and I'm excited to see my girl back on the big screen.
Yeah, I believe it's,
and the new cast looks fun.
It's
the
currently
new cast
filming,
is, like,
right? It's filming right now. Or
yeah.
Did they wrap yet?
I think they filmed like in Australia, and then like next month they're filming in California, so they're almost wrapping that up. So yeah,
do we have a release date?
I believe it's like July. It's mid-July.
Okay, so after the holiday. Okay, cool.
Which I don't agree with, but okay, it's fine.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, these people make a lot of money to have these release strategies. So I think holiday weekends, they just don't want it to bomb because it's a holiday weekend. I get that. Maybe
like
they should have maybe released it the week before though. But nobody's going to the movies on 4th of July weekend, so I kind of understand. But to release it after the holiday is kind of weird too.
That was
so
like do like June then if you're scared.
Yeah,
like lead up to 4th of July. But yeah, I think it is like it's mid-July.
Yeah, okay.
And that's it. So happy New Year, guys. We have a lot to look forward to, and happy Scream 7 filming season too.
Yeah, we will definitely cover that. We'll do like another predictions episode and stuff, and we got to cover more of that franchise. So look out for that. I know we have a lot of Scream fans that listen to the podcast, so
yes,
we'll be covering that come springtime for sure. So okay, now that we wrap that up, let's get into Crimson Peak. The reason we're here. Let's do this review. And you want to go over cast, crew, director, all that stuff, fun stuff.
Yeah. So I'll give you guys a brief synopsis from IMDb. It's in the aftermath of a family tragedy. An inspiring author is torn between love for her childhood friend and the temptation of a mysterious outsider. Trying to escape the ghosts of her past, she is swept away to a house that breathes, bleeds, and remembers. It is directed and written by Nolan. We already shout out him, Guillermo del Toro. What a director he is! And we have a stacked cast. It stars Mia Wasikowska, my girl Jessica Chastain, Tom Hiddleston, Charlie Hunnam. We have Jim Beaver in this. Bern Gorman is a character actor in a lot of Guillermo's movies. And we can't forget to shout out Doug Jones, who plays Edith's dead ghost mother. He's always doing the weird creature, which I'm fucking obsessed with him. Yeah. But yeah, stat cast. It came out in 2015, so we didn't plan it, but happy 10-year anniversary. So that's cool. And I remember I went to go see it in IMAX. I'm not a big gothic horror guy, but I was like, oh, it's Guillermo when I went. So I made sure I saw this one in the theater in IMAX. But I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'm happy that we're going back to it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a cool episode. I know you like your gothic horror, so I'm curious to see. It's first time watch for you, so I want your opinion. But I did like watching this after Nosferatu because visually, I mean, these two movies are just something else.
Yeah, so like you touched on, this is a first watch for me. I do love me some gothic horror. It's a movie that it's always been at the top of my watch list. I've never really, because I wanted to, it's one of those movies where I want to sit down and actually like hone in and focus. And a lot of times, I'm coming home from work or whatever. I just want to kind of relax and watch a movie. So no excuse though. It's been 10 years. I mean, I definitely should have watched it by now, but it's one of those movies I just never got around to. So I'm happy that it won the poll because it gave me an excuse to finally dive into it. And we get to talk about it now. So this is going to be fun. Before we get into it, the poll, I won the poll. So thanks everyone for voting in the Never Split Up poll. I think that was for Silent Night, Deadly Night. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you had a good moment.
Try to think of a moment for this movie and everyone who's listening and play along with us, and we'll do our Never Split Up moments at the end of this review. But for now, let's get into our overall thoughts and if we recommend it or not. We'll try to keep this part spoiler free if you haven't watched, and then based on these comments, if you want to pause and watch the movie and come back, feel free to do that. But yeah, you want to go first, or you want me to?
Yeah, I want to go first because you haven't seen it yet. So let's just build a suspense for you.
Okay.
I am not I like also genres of horror, but like gothic horrors, but by no means like towards the top of my list. But I really enjoy this movie. I think it's special. I think visually, it's fucking beautiful and like perfect visually. Story-wise is where like it's not the best, but it's straightforward. It's very it's nothing new story-wise. It's typical horror romance, jealousy involved. It's a gothic horror romance. It's very straightforward with a ghost story that's very cliche mixed in with it. But I think visually and with the actors and their performances specifically, like my girl Jessica Chastain, who was fucking going for it in this movie, I think it really, and Guillermo's directing, I mean, come on, no one directs a movie like him. I think it makes it a really, really enjoyable movie for me. I'm not in love with it, but I really, really do think it's a great movie. The story and the plot could have been like a little sharper, but that's really my only critique. I remember seeing it on the big screen. I like very much like Nosferatu. There were certain sequences where I'm like, my jaw was just open. Like, how did they get these shots? So yeah, I'm a really big fan of this movie. I think my favorite part of the movie though is Jessica Chastain. Because she's just fucking going for it. And I love me like a bitchy villain, and I love her so much. And I don't like doggy deaths, but that's the one disclaimer, guys. There's a dog in this movie, and a poor little doggy. But it's a good movie. The lead actress, I'd seen her in other stuff. She's really good. I kind of think she might be not my weakest part of the movie.
Alice in Wonderland, right? She played Alice.
Yes, she's Alice in Wonderland. She's in a lot of these like weird kooky movies, but she's good. But I think just every time she's on screen with Jessica Chastain, she's just like running laps around her. But I really, and Tom Hiddleston's great too. I don't know. I'm a really big fan of it. I really enjoy this one. I love it. I'm not in love with it. I think it's one of my favorite Guillermo movies.
Okay.
It's really good.
Okay, cool.
It's really good. I love me some horror.
Yeah. No, you're right. Jessica Chastain goes for it in this movie. It's really fun to watch. Yeah. She's definitely the standout for sure. Okay, cool. Yeah, I kind of agree with kind of everything you said, but I kind of have a different interpretation of everything you said. So, again, I've been looking forward to this movie for a while, and I feel like I got into the trap a little bit of kind of expecting what it was going to be without knowing what it was going to be. So there was a little bit of initial, not shock, but I had to come to terms with what it was rather than what I thought it was, if that makes sense, because I hadn't seen it. I thought it was going to be a bigger, grandiose, like gothic experience. And then I realized, like, no, it's literally just these three characters, and they're just kind of going at it, like, in this house, like, for most of the movie. So that's fine. It's just kind of, I just want to frame this before we get into the review of, like, what the head was at. I went into this, the first act, actually, believe it or not, is probably my favorite before they get to the house. I loved, like, I was watching it, and I was like, all these different characters, and you have Charlie Hunnam's character, and you have the father, and they're all kind of, it's like the love triangle is starting to form, and Tom Hiddleston's mysterious, and, it's grand, it feels grander, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, holy shit, I'm going to love this movie. It kind of once they get to the house, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed. And you mentioned that the story is very basic, which I agree. It's very cookie cutter. We've seen this 1,000 times before in ghost stories. That's not my issue. My issue is that they decided to run with this script, and I thought if you're gonna do that, you need to lift up other things. And other than the acting, my two big critiques are. And I like this movie, by the way. I'm not shitting on this movie. This is kind of just me conceptualizing, like, my, whatever.
Right. Expectations versus reality.
Yeah. I thought the house could have been more of a main character, especially towards the end of the movie. I thought the house was just kind of, it was a really cool setting. I mean, when you first get there to Crimson Peak and you see the house, like, it was beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful. But that's why I wanted it more kind of prevalent and more of like a main character, if that makes sense. Same thing with the ghosts. The ghosts are some of the coolest designs for a ghost I've seen, with that crimson color and everything. It just obviously fits tonally. So cool. And her nightmares and stuff, and her dreams, and the flashback of when she was a kid, like that sequence. Some of those sequences with the ghosts were really scary, especially earlier in the movie. Mm-hmm. And I thought he was pulling from his bag, Guillermo del Toro. I think, like you said, his directing was on point in those sequences. They fall away, though, and there's like nothing by the end of the movie. I mean, the ghosts played virtually zero role in that entire final, again, not to spoil too much, but the final sequence of everything happening. I wish they were more prevalent, especially towards the end of the movie. So that's kind of where the movie is a letdown for me. But overall, I do really like the movie. I think it's, like you said, it's beautiful. It's got beautiful shots. The acting is solid. Jessica Chastain is amazing. I think she was a great villain. Great choice. I was a little nervous once, because again, this story is so cookie cutter. I knew where it was going, like pretty much from the get-go. So once I realized kind of where her character fit into the story, I was like, oh, she can be able to pull this off, but she definitely did. So kudos to her. And yeah, I like this movie. It's a little bit of a letdown though. I was hoping I was gonna love it, and I don't. Okay. I don't completely love it, but I do like it. So I would say if you like Guillermo del Toro, if you like the gothic horror subgenre, it's definitely a recommend for me. It's just not everything I was looking for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I will agree that the ghosts, like, while they're cool and like visually very like pleasing, they're not as integral to the story as I wanted. Yeah. But
yeah, even, I mean, like, Jessica, even like thematically, I mean, I feel like they could have fit, like, it was there for them to have a more active role, if that makes sense, and they didn't. So I don't know. It was an interesting choice.
Yeah, so my favorite parts of the movie are the first act and the third act, just because, the third act is Jessica Chastain is fucking going ape shit, and the violence. I'm like, I will say this movie's more violent than I thought it was going to be going into it. There's some cool kills and some stabbings that like get to me.
You say the first and the third act. It's really hard because I love the first act. That's probably like my favorite part of the movie is like I said, everything in America that happens.
Yeah.
It's easy to say because this is a long movie. It's about 2 hours long. It's easy to say that the second act kind of drags because it does.
Yeah, I agree with
the story, because the story is so simple. But that second act has so many like beautiful shots of the house and her kind of just creeping around the house that like I kind of liked it. And the third act is fun and it's more exhilarating.
Third
but
act is so kooky.
yeah, it's almost like two different movies in a way. The way they kind of just go that direction.
I agree. But the one thing that you can't deny is that even if it's not like your cup of tea, just the visuals alone will keep you engaged, just because you're watching something like how like, this is just beautiful, the whole movie.
Yeah, and that's what kind of kept me from falling asleep, because it's very, very simple plot, guys. If you're familiar with ghost stories, I mean, it's like you've seen this before. So part of you could be thinking like halfway through this movie, like we still have an hour left. Like, can't we just get to like the bullet points? Like we know how this is going to end, but you have to just go. I would say it's a recommend, but you have to, if you like the gothic subgenre, because you have to just go along for the ride and just watch Guillermo del Toro kind of create this house. And that's, again, why I wanted it to be more prevalent, like at the end. But you can't deny, like you said, some of the shots and some of the sequences are just beautiful. So you kind of just have to sit back and relax and enjoy yourself in that regard.
No, I agree 100%. You're gonna be in it for a visual treat. If you guys have never seen this, watch it for that alone, and just go and expect it. I feel like he just wrote a story. And he's like, doesn't matter the story. I'm gonna direct the fuck out of it with the visuals. So who cares? That's what I kind of feel like this movie amounts to, but it works for me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Very good. Very good. So let's dive in and kind of dissect this movie. What did you think? I kind of talked about how I felt. What did you think of this whole opening and everything that happens like in America before we get to the house?
I'm a big fan of it. I like how we open with her being visited by her the ghost of her mom, and you have the opening "Beware of Crimson Peak," which is obviously a theme for what she ends up having to be faced with. But again, like the creature, like you said, the ghost design, I was just in awe of it in the beginning. It was eerie, but it also has like a haunted mansion like ride vibe, which I kind of appreciate that because it looks really gross and creepy, but it's also just like this is classic ghost story shit. So I really, really love the opening sequence. I think he did a great job. And then when we little flash forward from like I think the late 1880s to 1901, when she's like an author, and then she meets Thomas and meet Lucille. I think it's a good introduction to all the characters. You see that the brother and sister duo. There's something off about them, but they're also so charming. And then you see Charlie Hunnam's there. So I like the introduction to all of them. It sets the stage for what's to come. It's almost like a play. I feel like this movie too.
Yeah. No, it is. I really like it, and part of why I like the story, especially in the beginning of this movie, is kind of that love triangle. You have Charlie Hunnam, who's clearly in love with his. Let's just do the character names. What's his
name is Dr. Allen, I believe.
Dr. Allen. I forget his last name. Yeah.
McMichael.
So he clearly loves Edith. You could tell he's swooning for her. You have the mysterious Tom Hiddleston's character name. Sorry,
Thomas Sharp.
Sharp. That's right. Yeah, Sharp. You have the Sharps come in. So I love that whole love triangle. Again, it was really well done. I kind of wish it was more prevalent throughout. Charlie Hunnam's character kind of doesn't have much to do. I mean, they cut to him a few times throughout the movie of him kind of figuring out the mystery. And again, spoilers ahead. Everyone now we're now into spoiler territory, but kind of took him a long time to figure things out. I mean, it was pretty mysterious, like super suspicious how everything went down. I don't know why anyone didn't raise red flags sooner, but okay. I mean, that's fine. I mean, the father's death, which I want to get to because that is. I was surprised. I was like, okay, Guillermo, all right, yeah, that was intense. Some of these deaths, some of these shots were like pretty graphic, and I was like, wow, they went there.
That's what I'm saying.
That was definitely how do I say this? Pleasant surprise, I guess. It was definitely I was pleasantly surprised.
I remember seeing that. We'll get to that in a second, so I'll just wait to say that. But I remember seeing that scene in the theater. I'm like, oh, we're going there. This is R-rated, Guillermo. Okay, all right. But obviously the dad, Mr. Cushing, he is very skeptical of the Sharps. So you have that whole, again, guys, very cookie cutter typical, storyline where the dad doesn't trust the guy trying to get in the daughter's life, and he forces them to disappear and break Edith's heart, because they have a budding romantic relationship. So that whole plays out. But I do like the drama of it all in the opening, so it sets the stage.
Yeah, the ballroom scene is beautiful. I love the ballroom scene where they do the waltz, I believe it is. That is really cool.
Yep.
I love all of that. One of the things that is highlighted in the beginning of this movie that is like really like a main focus that, again, it feels like two different movies because by the end of it, it's like pretty much irrelevant, is the fact that Edith is an aspiring writer. And she has her writings. We really don't like that. Kind of goes nowhere in a sense. I mean, I get it was a device for Thomas Sharp to kind of introduce himself to her, but other than that, I mean, they kind of by the end of the movie, you completely forget about that whole subplot because I could see like rewatching this, saying like, oh yeah, I forgot like this was a thing with her. Like she was like really, really like that was like. I even if they just like did it a different way where they highlighted that like she gave that up for Thomas Sharp. But they don't even really touch on that. You know what I mean? Because she did give everything up in America to go move. I mean, that's obvious, but they kind of don't even really acknowledge it by the end. And I think that was like maybe like a missed opportunity. It was curious why they added that if they weren't going to, It
was definitely a plot device to get her to like meet and give the manuscript to Thomas. But I know I wished it focused on that was her like hobby. Like you said, I wish it focused on she gave up her life to go with him more, and that was her passion before Thomas. So she was very enamored with him, and they didn't really
even if it
focus
was
on
like
that enough.
a cool, like, you know how they do in movies where like Edith is writing a ghost story and then we go into the ghost story and it's like real events
Yeah.
that happen to her, and then
Yeah.
at the end of the movie it's her finishing the script, and you know she's I don't know, like something cool like that, but they didn't do any of that. I was like, okay.
The only thing they do is that if you watch the end credits, it pretty much implies that she wrote a novel based on,
Oh,
the
did
experience
they?
of
Oh,
Crimson
maybe I
Peak.
missed
Yeah.
that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so she wrote Crimson Peak at the end, it says in the credits, but that doesn't come back until the very
No,
literally
yeah. And
end
you have the
credits.
very beginning where, like you said, the famous quote. So she's kind of narrating things in the
Yes.
beginning, but that's all
I
we
do
kind of
like
get.
how it opens with her with that quote. Yeah, like
Yeah.
ghosts are real. That much I know. I'm like, ooh, okay.
All right. So what do you think of the whole locker room scene?
Oh my god! I'm
I mean,
obsessed with
I
the
remember
locker.
watching this, thinking about you, saying like, "Oh, Aaron's eating this scene up." I mean, he probably loved this scene.
It
It's like
plays
right
out
up.
so well with
Yeah.
him, and like the steam in the locker room because he's shaving and he's getting ready to shower. It's just so well choreographed, and the way I love how it's very like 70s like killer because they just show the gloves and nothing.
yeah.
Obviously because we don't see who it is, but it's very just like I don't know. It's all black. The killer's all in black. And then just see his face smashed into that sink. I'm like, okay, they're not stopping. And then you get the shot of him on the floor. I'm like, holy shit. Blood and fucking smashed in face galore. This is amazing. I thought that was excellent. I was like, you got me.
The suspense was incredible. I was like, what am I watching right now? I mean, props to the crew for the practical effects and all of the special effects were awesome. And yeah, Guillermo del Toro, I mean, he's got some slasher chops. That was a really good,
like a
like
set piece.
Yeah, I was like, damn, should he like direct slashers? Like that was really good.
Please.
I mean, damn.
Suspenseful, you said, like he keeps like you think you see something. He keeps looking back, and it's like plays on. I'm like, I thought it was just gonna go right to it.
Yeah.
It was just gonna get executed. I almost thought he was gonna get shot or something. You know? But then I'm like, oh, okay. We have like a Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees kill. Like, and this is amazing.
Yeah, and the fact that we know, it's Jessica Chastain doing the kill, like using her bare hands, like kudos, man. Yeah.
She is the best part about this movie. So she's so fucking good. I think this is the movie that made me like literally fall in love with her. I'm like, oh my god, she's killing it.
Yeah.
No, I mean that was like that's one of the highlight, especially like kills of the movie for me. Even though the ending does go like bloody again, especially when you get to like Tom Hiddleston's death and all that. Even the stabbings at the end are like, I'm like, okay, everyone's getting stabbed.
Yeah.
So then obviously, we have the whole Edith's, goes to see the dead dad, and then obviously Thomas gets brought back into her life because no more dad, and then she can pretty much get swept away by him. And then they get married and they get taken to the mansion, the Cumberland Mansion. How do you think about the whole like how quick she went back to Thomas? Obviously that was going to happen. That's how these movies play out.
Oh yeah, I mean it was definitely like played on her grief, and if she was of sound mind, maybe she wouldn't have been so hasty. But that was her whole world, was her father. I mean, she didn't have any other family or anything, so she felt totally isolated and alone. Anyway,
She had Charlie Hunnam, and she just
but she didn't.
I know.
She didn't
She's
know
not-
that. She didn't.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like she didn't look at him that way. And again, that's why I kind of wanted them to play up more on that.
Yeah.
Especially going forward, but they didn't. He kind of just becomes like the hero at the end who it will do anything for the love, but it's not reciprocated, and it's like pretty annoying, but because he's a good guy.
It's pretty. I know
He's a great guy, actually. I mean, he was he was another one. I was like, okay, Charlie Hunnam in a gothic horror movie. Like, let's see how this plays out. But by the end, I was bought in. He did a good job. I think he didn't try to like oversell anything or go like too cheesy with his acting. I think he was subtle enough to fit within the story. But I really liked his character, especially by the end. But yeah, let's. So she goes. I mean, they go to Crimson Peak. She doesn't know it's called Crimson Peak. That's one of the big reveals. That's obviously the big reveal when she finds out. But beautiful set piece.
I mean, it's
this
run
is pretty
down,
much our
but the
set piece for the rest of the movie. And
Yes.
it's a huge house. The house is gigantic.
I love how it's like sinking into like the red clay mine below it. Just like the color, the red color. It just looks fucking, like you said, it looks, I mean, to me, beautiful. I know it's run down and it's like dilapidated, but to me, I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So Lucille is also at the mansion of Jessica Chastain, and she keeps giving Edith tea made, what is it, from like fire thorn berries or something. So I mean, obviously you know what's going on, that she's getting poisoned because she has stomach aches like immediately. So again, this is very cookie cutter, but you know, it gets us into the swing of things.
Mhm.
And I also think it's like, girl, like Thomas is immediately like persuading Edith to like use her father's like money to like support him and like his goal. I'm like, come on, girl, how stupid are you? Like, you're getting taken advantage of. Like, what you doing, girl? Come on.
Yeah.
You can't be that.
He's very charming, Tom Hiddleston.
He is, he is
He's-
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
He is charming.
Yeah, I mean, he's
But still,
he's
I'm like,
Loki,
come on.
man. He's the master of deception. So I mean, it fits, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean. So what do you think about when she starts like, you know, the night sequences, when she has the nightmares and she noticed that Thomas is like absent from the bedroom at night? Like, did you know where that was going to? Like, what was going on between?
Okay, so I'll be honest. I knew where it was going. I was surprised that they were actually siblings, though, that they went there. That was pretty creepy.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, because I was like, okay, they're for sure like together,
Lovers.
Like, you know, I mean, her jealousy was just like
The whole from the first
how
shot
did
of
she
her,
not
yeah.
notice? Like, I mean, that was not normal sister
Again.
jealousy. So, I will say, I was a little surprised that they were actually siblings. I was like, okay, they went there.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
that was
went there.
interesting. Yeah.
I remember in the theater, everyone was like, "Whoa!" When they found out. It was pretty funny.
And
But I'm
she's
happy
the
you went there,
older
yeah.
sibling,
Yes.
correct? So it's like it's just even
Takes
it's even more to her vile character that she like groomed her little brother to like, you know, fall in love with her. I mean, it's just nasty stuff from
it is
Lucille.
nasty stuff. I love the sequence, one of the nightmares, when the ghost chases Edith like down the hallway, like to the cellar. I think that's a really, I mean, that's a cool sequence, and that's just like ending like the first act, getting into like the middle part of the movie.
The ghosts. I mean, that's probably going to be the main reason why I come back to this movie. The ghost design and some of these sequences. I mean, Del Toro really. Some of them are intense. I mean, they're scary. The sound design. So I watched it in my home theater.
Oh,
I have some pretty big speakers down there, and I had the sound up, and the sound design was like
So
booming. It was so cool when the ghost comes through the floor
Yeah.
and is like crawling at her. Yeah, it was really, really well done.
It's like an adult, like R-rated, like Haunted Mansion ride. This movie, I'm telling you, like
Yeah.
that's how I got from this movie. But pretty much after like a couple nightmares, she does get led to like there's a trunk in like the cellar, and it's like labeled Enola, and she finds out, like Tom tells her eventually, that it's referred to as, the state's actually called Crimson Peak. Which, girl, once you find that out from your nightmares in the opening, you know, your experiences in the opening, like leave. She gets like startled and she wants to leave, but like he does his charm and like gets her to stay again. But I think that I like that reveal. It's like the typical gothic, like, oh, it's Crimson Peak, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
Again, another issue I had was, you know, the movie's called Crimson Peak. The house is called Crimson Peak for obvious reasons. If you watch the movie, they're, like you said, they're both above like this clay mine or whatever, and it's crimson color.
I like how it turns the snow red.
Yeah, and that's what he says. He says the reason they call it Crimson Peak is because it turns the snow red. I wanted more of that. We didn't get like any like panoramic shots of like the whole, because it's on a hilltop, like the whole hilltop red around the house. I wanted like something cool like that. We kind of see it at the end, but it's in the background. Again, that's why I wanted to, like, I wanted the house to be more prevalent, especially towards the end, and it kind of just takes a back seat to these crazy characters and Jessica Chastain, which I'm not complaining about. I mean, she was just,
you wanted more of a balance.
Yeah. But I wish we got a little bit more of like why it's called Crimson Peak. We got like a little,
like the lore. You wanted more lore.
Yeah, a little bit, like, or even just show me, you know, show me some cool shots, like some drone shots, overhead shots, or something, you know.
No, I agree. I always want more of a Crimson Peak, like the exterior and everything.
Speaking of aesthetics, I love the basement. That is a really cool
so good
kind of room. It's kind of creepy, and it's got those vats of whatever, the vaults of the slime and stuff, and the clay. I'm
telling you, it's Haunted Mansion, the whole thing. I do like a good snowy set piece, and I love like after she cools down and like he takes her to the local post office, and after she demands to leave and she receives her letter, whatever. I like how they go back and they're snowed in for the night. I love a good snowy set piece. I think that's the night when they like sleep together.
Yes.
And Lucille gets extra, extra, extra feisty and angry, which again I'm like, yes, here we go. She's gonna start acting up. But I love like sequences in horror movies where they're like cave they're stuck in because of weather or whatever.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. I mean, this is why we put this on the list, because it just fits right in with the January season. So for sure. Yeah.
I also forgot to mention that Lucille, like, I love in the beginning, like, she told, like, Edith, like, you'll get a key if you so think you need it. So she ends up stealing a key from Lucille. And I think the key also has a Enola on it. And it unlocks, like, a trunk. So she finds all these secret documents and all this stuff. So there's obviously... She finds out that Thomas was married to 3 other wealthy women. So right there, girl... Like, come on, get out of there, get out of there. And one of them was Enola. So we obviously find out that these ghosts, visiting her at Crimson Peak are the dead.
And she's putting the pieces together. Like I said before,
slowly, very slowly.
Dr. Allen's putting the pieces together in his own. They kind of cut to him. He's starting to he talks to the private eye, whatever, who the dad hired, which uncovered, his previous marriages. So we get that. What do you think about just like the story of them being isolated in England at Crimson Peak? Because I almost wish that they weren't like in a different country and they were closer to everything going on in America. Because again, I like isolation in movies, and I do think that's creepy, especially for a winter movie. But with the story being so cookie cutter and like. I almost wish that they weren't so isolated to the rest of what was going on.
Right.
And that, like I said, like Dr. Allen maybe was like checking in on her every now and then or something like that.
He was more involved with
He was more involved. Yeah,
like,
I don't know if I love how it's just the 3 of them in that house at all times.
I wish maybe there was more opportunity. There would have been more opportunity for suspense if more characters showed up, like almost like catching them or like trying to sneak around and figure things out that could lead to more deaths as well. But on the flip side, if they took, like, if they did a little more, like, to your point again, with, like, the Crimson Peak aesthetic of it all,
yes,
I think that the isolation would have been
the way to go.
But I kind of like, I don't mind either way, but I can see what you're saying. That it would have led to more, like, friction and suspense rather than just, it's Edith on her own, and the other 2 are obviously up to no good, which is obvious. You could have other people like, oh, what's going on here? So
again, I mean, it's really just the balancing of it, because nothing is wrong, but it's almost by the end of the movie, this story and the drama elements of the story just are front and center, and we have these monologues and stuff, and it's like we've seen it before. So if it wasn't so prevalent and we had those other things kind of balance it out, it would have, I think, worked a lot better for me.
I agree. I think that. It was a little bit like Guillermo was like, I got Crimson Peak and I got these 3 like great actors, so I'm gonna let them play. But I think he really took for granted like how much more it could have been.
Yes,
like what you said, if there was more. But I think he is like, I'm good, which he is good, but it could have been like amazing. We're just like really good right now. I agree. So going back to the letter, she obviously finds out, and she finds out in the letters from Enola that she was being poisoned by Lucia with the tea. So that's obvious. And then
the audio recording, I forget what that device was called that she was able to uncover. Where she's like leaves a voicemail for her. That was cool.
Very typical, but I like that she does confront Thomas, but she catches them, like you said earlier, and they have a little incestuous sexual relationship going on. When I saw that, I was like, I thought they were just like pretend brother and sister, like you said, or they were just a fucked up like sibling duo, and she was just like overprotective. I'm like, oh no, they're siblings and they're lovers. So here we go. I'm like, woo! But Lucille, she just pushes her right off that balcony when she confronts them. I'm like, fuck, she is no fucks. I love it. So then after that like discovery, pretty much get into the 3rd act where Alan, Charlie Hunnam, he also uncovers, it's like this, they realize at the same time what's going on, typical movie fashion. So he's heading over there to save her, she's trying to get away from these two crazy people. So it's a good like build up to I like the finale. It's it's action packed.
Another big player that's a big player, but we really don't see a lot, is the Sharps, their mother, and the fact that Lucille kills the mother. I mean, she reveals that at the end, but again, it would have been cool to see like a flashback of Lucille, killing the mom, and kind of the mom being more of a character, because she is a ghost in the house, but she doesn't help Edith at the end. None of the ghosts do. I mean, the only one that really helps Edith, and again, spoilers, is when Sir Thomas dies, and he kind of reveals himself to his sister, and that's what allows Edith to get the upper hand. But other than that, there was nothing. It was literally just the chase, like a standard chase scene. But yeah, I think it would have been cool to highlight the mother a little bit more. I was like, oh wow, that sounds
and maybe
cool.
I wanted a flashback to like once you find. I wanted like to see Lucille in like the mental institution when like could you find out that she was
yeah. But again, with the house, it would have been cool to see the house like in its heyday before it was run down. Like that would have been really cool to see kind of images of that. So yeah,
I think it's funny that Alan arrives like just as she's been pushed off the balcony. Again, that's like typical movie. So it's like, but Alan, he tries to leave with her, but Lucille, you're no match for Lucille. She stabs him, but she demands that Thomas finish the job. We should note that like, I don't know if it's a gothic romance too. So obviously like Thomas is a bad guy, but you can obviously see that throughout the movie he is falling in love with Edith. But I almost wish that like he also stuck to his like scheming ways, and I don't know, because it was kind of like they made him a bad guy, but they kind of like try to redeem him too.
The way I interpret it is he's always been a lover boy with all of his wives, and that's why Lucille is so jealous every time he picks a new wife, because she needs to be in control. I mean, we didn't touch on it, but in the beginning of the movie, she wanted him to pick the other girl. I forget what her name was, but he was like, he accidentally meets Edith. He wasn't supposed to meet Edith. She wasn't supposed to be the chosen one. So I feel like he's always been a lover boy, and he's always tried to break free from Lucille, but she's always kind of just tightened her, her clench on him. But this time it just was too much, I think.
He actually loved you. But it's also like he was evil at moments too with Edith, but then it's like he's not. I'm like, oh.
He was.
Like, let's see Tom Hiddleston go full evil too. But he's kind of like half 50. Yeah, he's kind of like 50-50 like throughout the movie where, Jessica Chastain just goes full 110 like villain. But obviously, Thomas does not finish the job. He stabs Alan again, but like in a very specific way where it's like non-fatal.
Yeah, he tells Alan. He has his back turned to Lucille, and he says, "Where do you want me to stab you?" Like he's so
obviously Dr. Allen's a doctor, so he's like,
he moves him to the other side, to stab him. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
So Alan's hidden in the cellar for like and Charlie Hunnam's gonna like again away for the rest of the finale until the end, pretty much, which is kind of a bummer. But it's really just a nice Lucille and Edith showdown, but not before we have the Lucille and Thomas scene. What do you think about Thomas and Lucille, like the whole ending for that with but she kills him?
Yeah, it was I mean, I feel like it had to be done. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what other way they could have handled that. Like, are you asking me like practically, or just kind of like story wise?
Like the build up, like how do you think it played out? Because obviously Lucille, she makes Edith like sign the transfer deeds to all that, so like they own like her estate and blah 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 and all that, and then just to lead up to she's talking to Edith about like her mother and the whole sexual relationship. She's like kind of doing her maniacal like monologue, if you want to say. Yeah. And then, I don't know, the whole build-up to after being confronted by Thomas and the pen. I love the pen scene. She takes the pen and stabs him. It's so good.
I mean, she's justified. I don't really... Yeah. Like, how could you believe any word that he says at that point? So... Yep. What did you think? I thought it was... I mean, again, it was predictable. I didn't think she was going to save him. I mean, to do
Thomas was too straightforward with Lucille. Like, he pretty much said, like, listen, I'm actually in love with her. Like, I'm burning the deeds. Like, come with us and start life. Obviously, Lucille is a fucking crazy bitch. She's not going to do that. But I do love when he gets stabbed in the face. I thought that looked really fucking sweet. I was I was touching I was like, oh. And then she just goes ham. And because she's enraged, obviously, because she's psycho. And he just told her that he doesn't want to follow through with what they've been doing for all these years. So she just stabs him to death. And I just love how once Jessica Chastain gets hold of that cleaver and chases
Yeah.
Edith. I'm like, all right, this movie completely won me over because she's going full maniac. So I love the chase at the end. And it's
and I
clear that
love
she used to
how-
kill her mother. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
And I mean, once that happens, you know that she's just putting all of that rage into Edith. Like,
Oh,
she
yeah.
blames Edith for everything. So,
And when she stabs her in like the elevator through the hand, I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god, yes, this is what I'm here for. I don't know how I feel about the whole Thomas ghost of it all coming. That's very hokey to me, but whatever. It's a gothic romance, so I'll allow it. He did help her at the end.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind it only because it was like I wanted that more. Like, so I was
Right,
like, oh,
more
finally we
ghost, yeah.
get some sort of like, haunting that affects Lucille, because they even talk about throughout the movie, they're like, oh, mom's fucking up again. Like, so they know that there are ghosts in the house, but correct me if I'm wrong, we don't see any Lucille or Thomas doesn't see any ghosts throughout the movie. Like, we don't see that. I know they're there.
They talk,
but it's only
discuss
Edith
it,
that
yeah.
sees the
Yeah.
ghost. So I would have liked to see more sequences of the ghosts like haunting Lucille. I mean, Lucille is the bad guy in this all, and she's killed
Right.
all of these people in this house. Like, why aren't they taking more of an active role? And I get, like, with the mythology, okay, like this universe, ghosts aren't really like, they just kind of show up and like, don't really do much. But
Right.
I don't know. I feel like I wanted more. Like, they talk about it a lot, but they don't see him
I
at
feel
all.
like the ghosts like subtly were giving her hints, and they should be like, "Yo, hammer over the head, help her out a little bit more here." Like, let's get it
Yeah,
going.
I know.
Like, you know what I mean?
And I thought that it was going to go that way too, because there were a couple parts where the ghosts were like kind of like almost calling out, like they were trying to like talk and say words, they just couldn't. So I thought that was interesting.
simple,
It's
like,
also
get out
interesting
would've been
how
very
her
useful.
mom is a crimson ghost, which doesn't
Yeah.
really make sense because her mom dies not anywhere near
yeah.
the house, and now she's. I
More
don't know. I
about
thought
the
that
future,
it would have been interesting to
more
kind of
follow
expand
through with
upon
that
that.
would have helped
Yeah.
out. I will say, Edith to me is like not like anywhere near a great final girl, but I do like when she has the shovel and they're fighting at the end, and Lucille keeps saying, I'm not stopping till one of us is dead, or whatever her spiel is.
Yeah.
And then after, like, she hits her, she says it again, and then Edith hits her again. She's like, "I heard you the first time." I'm like, "Yes, bitch." I'm like, all right, that's the that's the sassiness I wanted from her, like a little bit more.
Yeah.
I thought I get a chuckle when she says that. I'm like, all right. But then she's saved with Alan, thanks to Thomas. Thomas helps her out, but Edith and Alan are rescued by the villagers. And Lucille becomes I do love the shot of Lucille being a ghost in the house. I thought that was really cool. Again, every shot of Jessica Chastain in this movie is great, but she's playing the piano as a ghost, and I really love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. That was a cool way to end it. Yeah, I like Edith's character. I actually, that's one of the things I don't have a problem with. I agree with you that she's not like a super memorable final girl,
I mean,
but
she's like the actress.
she
is
is
good.
just
It's
caught up in it all,
Yeah.
and she's kind of just trying to do her best to kind of make it out and survive. I don't think we needed like this badass,
No.
action hero final girl.
No, that's
like
not what
this.
this
So,
movie was.
Yeah,
But
so
But
it's
she got
fair.
her licks in at the end. She got her licks in with
Yeah,
that
she
shovel. So I'm like,
did,
all right,
yeah.
hell yeah. And then it pretty much just ends with the credit. Her and Alan. We're assuming that they're going to be together, and it ends with the credits with implying that Edith wrote her novel based on these experiences called Crimson Peak. I like the whole bookend, literally the bookend of the credits. So it's I am a big fan of this. Now that we went through, I am a big fan of this movie. It's one of the better gothic horror romances.
it's again, I have very mixed feelings because it's like there's things that I love about it,
Right.
and there's things that I don't love about it. I don't love the overall tone of kind of like the ending. I like the performances. Again, Jessica Chastain just delivers, but I just was expecting more of a cathartic kind of dark.
Yeah, I agree.
I also think like it could have been darker, like aesthetically.
Agreed.
I don't know. Yeah, this is going to be
This is one you'll
interesting.
definitely have to rewatch, though. Yeah,
I do.
at some
Yeah.
point, yeah.
And I will. I think it's there's enough there for me to kind of go back to, like you said, some of the set pieces and the sequences and the aesthetics there's enough there for me that I'll definitely rewatch this for sure. But definitely not a love. Definitely not a love. I do like the movie. So yeah, that was our review of Crimson Peak. What did you guys think? Do you guys love this movie? I know a lot of people love this movie and say that this is Guillermo del Toro at his best. So let us know. Who do you agree with more? We kind of feel, I guess, a little bit similar.
Yeah,
in
we're
this.
We're
not too far off. Maybe
I'm a
our
little
scores
higher
will be
on
a
it
little
than you.
different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad we covered this. This was fun. I'm glad to finally
Yeah,
check
good
this off my
winter.
watch
Good.
list.
And let us know what your favorite like gothic horror movie is. Gothic horror movie, gothic horror romance, because we're definitely going to cover more in the future. I'm curious too, because I haven't.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a subgenre I haven't delved into as much. I haven't seen all of them, so we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get right to our never split up moments.
Oh, no.
I believe you said that I won
Yes, you
our
go
last
first.
poll, so I'll get to go first. I'm going to take the obvious one. Sorry, Aunt.
That's okay. I don't even have any obvious.
I'm going to take Edith just eloping with the Sharps, with Thomas Sharp. I mean, it's just like we're watching it,
So
and it's
obvious.
just like, come on, girl. I know your father just died, but like, don't you want to grieve like in your childhood home or like be close to his tombstone, his grave for a while? But she leaves it all behind and doesn't have any contact with anyone. I mean, she doesn't keep in contact with Dr. Allen or anything. So yeah, I'm just going to go with her kind of just throwing caution to the wind and just leaving with the Sharps. I get it, like in terms of like the story, but I'm sitting there like, come on, girl, like use your brain a little bit, you know?
Literally, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's obviously. I mean, that's like.
I mean, even we didn't even touch on like even the circumstances of like he literally like broke up with her, and like the things he said to her like were
so harsh.
and were so mean. And I get he explained that the father made him do it, which is technically correct, but like. Wouldn't
Still.
you think, like, maybe there's a little truth behind those words? Like, how did he even think of that if he doesn't actually believe that? You know what I mean? So I was like the fact that she just, like, literally, like, ran to, like, the hotel to, like no questions asked. She read the letter and was, like, so, oh my God, like, my love. She literally just ripped your heart out. You're not going to pause for, like, maybe a minute and just think about this, you know?
And you're not going to be suspicious of, like, after all that, like, your father mysteriously died after that. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, who did this?
Your father made me do this, but then he, like, suspiciously died. Like none of it was adding up. I know. Yeah.
So that's a classic for a gothic horror romance. I love that moment. Mine's going to be, though, when Edith, again, poor Edith, she's really getting the heat for this, but when she's chased into the cellar by the ghost at the mansion and she finds out that this is called Crimson Peak and she had the warning like from her childhood, like beware of Crimson Peak. She says to Thomas she needs to leave, but he so easily brings her back. Like, girl, once you find out it's Crimson Peak, you leave and don't come. It's bad stuff. But she so easily again is manipulated to going back. I would have been like, this shit's bad. If I stay here, I'm gonna die. I need to leave. But she comes back. So mine's going to be like, once she finds out that it actually is Crimson Peak, she doesn't leave.
Well, our moments are very tied because the fact that she left it all behind. I mean, Thomas even says, like, we're your everything now. Like, Crimson Peak is your home. You have nowhere to go. So I understand, like, why the fear and, like, being just, like, stranded with no place to go. And it's like, girl, doesn't matter, you know, you got to get out of there. Yeah.
Leave. So yeah, those are good those are good moments for this movie.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Let's get into our scores. I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, guys, just to recap, I think this is visually a masterpiece and stunning. Again, my issues with it is the story could have been a little more cushioned and a little more, I don't know, I wanted more meat on the bones of the story. But the acting, you know, specifically of our trio and like Jessica Chastain is just running laps around everybody really pulled me in, mixed with the unexpected violence and again, just the visual aesthetics. It was so like to my eye, I was just like, jaw drop. So again, other than the story being like paper thin, I think this is a great gothic horror romance. So I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it a 7.7. It's one that I like when every time I watch it, I'm like, wow, like I'm just like watching Guillermo just doing his thing directing. So minus the story, I really recommend this one, guys. It's a very, very good movie for like a snowy, wintry night. Like pop it on, get under a blanket.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You give this script to a lot of directors and they don't pull it off, but Guillermo del Toro saves this movie for me. Like you said, he went into his bag with some of these sequences, were really intense. The visuals were great. I wanted more visuals. I did want that balance more at the end. Like I said, I did think it kind of leaned into the paper thin story a little bit too much at the end, and we could have gotten more of the house and the ghosts kind of playing an integral role. But other than that, I do think it's a visually great movie. I wish it was a little bit darker, but that's just personal preference. The actors were great. Like you said, Jessica Chastain was the standout. I wanted it to be a bigger scope, maybe a bigger cast, more moving parts, which is why I like the first act so much. There's a lot of different moving parts. You have the love triangle going on that kind of goes away. So, but there are things again that I really love about this movie. I'm gonna give this an even 7 out of 10.
Okay, so you still really enjoy it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a rewatch with this one. I'm gonna do like the darker, more ominous Nosferatu and this back to back, the more fluff. I'm gonna see how these play back to back once I buy Nosferatu on 4K. Again, guys, I think off that hype, this movie is getting some love because of that. So it's good that people are reevaluating. And happy 10th anniversary to this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm really glad I finally checked it out. And yes, we will be back next week. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, let us know your thoughts. Let us know what your most anticipated releases of this year are, if there's any ones we didn't cover. And again, you can follow us on Twitter /X and Instagram at Never Split Up Pod. That's where we post our polls. We are also posting polls on YouTube, and we're keeping the YouTube train rolling. I mean, we got a lot of subscribers. We want to just keep building that. Our next goal, I guess, is 300 subscribers. So hopefully we'll get there soon. And yeah, if you guys are coming from YouTube, leave comments. Comments helps, I feel like, the algorithm on YouTube, and like the video if you can, if you like what you hear. And yeah, that's about it. Anything else, Ant, before we wrap up?
No, like here's to 500 subscribers by the end of 2025. Let's make that
there
our
we
goal.
go.
That's our goal.
There we go.
Let's
Yes,
do
for
it.
sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, until next time, we'll see you next week. We're not sure what movie we're covering next, but I'm sure it'll be a good time. So this is the Never Split Up podcast. We'll see you later. Bye.